This show is produced by the Harwood Podcast Network.
Hey there guys, I'm Cameron Harris. We love making this show available to you free of charge, and you can help us keep it that way by making a contribution to our Karma Jar. To learn more, visit our website. Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SketchUp, a 3D toolbox. I'm Cameron Harris, and this is episode number 54. Now, we are going to continue on in this episode with our Kaweah Falls house project. This is the Kaweah Falls house, in case you've forgotten. It is a beautiful house, and our model of it is coming along very, very nicely. If you take a look at where we are right now, in our last episode, we modeled the openings for the doors and the windows. So you can see we've got all these holes in our walls, and in this episode, we're going to fill them. We're going to fill them with doors and windows, which we've actually talked about on this show before. A while back, we talked about doors and windows. We're going to do things a little bit differently this time, because in our previous episodes, we've always gone to the 3D warehouse and downloaded pre-built models of doors and windows. In this episode, we're going to model them from scratch, because if you look at our model, there are a few doors, but a lot of windows in this house, especially on this side. You can see we've got some normal shaped doors over here, and then over here we've got these gigantic shaped windows that are slightly different on each wall. We got a lot of windows, and we have a lot of different sized windows. So downloading one model and then scaling it up so that, you've got the same model scaled to fit a 3-foot high window and an 8-foot high window, that's just not going to work. That doesn't make sense. So we're going to model them from scratch, which is actually fairly easy to do. Now before we do that, there is something that I need to do before we get into the details of this model, and that is separate all of our pieces of our model out into layers. We talked about layers before. This is a great way of organizing your project, and it's going to come in very handy later on. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to the window menu, and I'm going to choose layers. Here we go. Here are my layers right here. Right now I've only got layer 0, which is the default layer. You can't delete that layer. Remember that. You can't delete layer 0. You need to create new layers. So we're going to create some new layers here. We're going to create a new layer called level 1, level 2, garage, and the one that we'll be working with today, which is doors and windows. There we go. Now remember, we've already grouped the walls and the basic structure of our house. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to select these pieces down here, this part, and this part here, the window menu again, and I'm going to choose Entity Info. It's also Command-I or Control-I if you're on a PC. And that brings up our Entity Info window. And here we've got our layer. Default is layer 0. I'm going to choose level 1. There we go. So now those lower level parts of the house are all on level 1, the level 1 layer. I'm then going to choose the upper part of my house here, which is just one big group. And I'm going to choose level 2 for that. So that's level 2. And then over here we've got our garage. I'm going to go ahead and choose garage for that one. There we go. But I also created this one called doors and windows. There's nothing to put in it right now, but I am going to choose this little box next to it. Tick that. That means that everything, that's become our active layer. So everything we model from this point on until we change that setting again is going to automatically go into the doors and windows layer. So we're going to start out with the windows over on the right side of our house here, because these are fairly regularly sized windows, and we can do a lot of copy-paste work here. We can model one window and then duplicate it across. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to model our windows using the Follow Me tool, right? So we're going to basically build a little profile shape of the window frame, and then we'll use the Follow Me tool to basically wrap that around the opening. If that doesn't make sense, it will in just a second. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go right to this corner here, and we're going to start modeling a little profile of what we want our window frame to look like. So I'll choose the line tool by hitting the L key. I'll draw a basic line right here. Now, even though it looks like nothing's happened, remember the walls that we're modeling on top of are grouped. So even though there is technically a line here, that line is inside that group. So we need one more line so that we can select it outside of that group. We want to have the molding on the outside part of the window. We want that to be about 2 inches wide, fairly wide molding. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a line, and I'm going to draw it straight down 2 inches, and I'm going to draw a line that's coming straight out, so it's actually pointing away from the wall. I'm going to have that be 1/2 of an inch, so I'm just going to type in 0.5, period 5, that's half right there, good. And then I'll have it come straight up, another 2 inches. And I'm actually going to have it come up a little bit more. I'm going to have it come up 2 and then another 1/4, so 0.25, 1/4 of an inch. That'll be the molding on the inside part of the window. So that'll wrap around the inside part of the wall. And I'll have this stretch across here on the green axis a little bit more. 6.5 inches, so I'm going to have it go out 7. There we go. That gets us through to here. Now on the inside part of the window, on the interior, I only want the molding to be 1 inch wide. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line that goes straight down 1 inch and then back in and up to there. There we go. Okay, so now, deselect everything. If we look at this shape right here doesn't look like much of a window right now, does it? Well, that's where the Follow Me tool comes in. First thing I'm going to do, make sure I've gotten the whole shape selected by double-clicking on the face. And I'll choose the Move key, and I'm going to move it. I don't want it touching the corner right here. Made it easier to model because I could kind of, snap my lines to that back wall, that back part of the wall. But for right now, for the Follow Me tool, I don't want it touching anything on its side. So I'm going to move it just so it's right in the middle of the window right there. It doesn't really matter where. Deselect that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Rectangle tool by hitting the R key, and I'm just going to trace the window with a quick rectangle, just like this. Now it's going to block out the window. Don't worry about that. This is just a guide. We're just using this shape as a guide. We'll delete it in just a second. And I'm going to go ahead and select that face. Because remember, the way the Follow Me tool works is you select the shape or the lines that you want to be your path that you extrude something along, and then you select the shape that you want. So we select this face right here, which means we're actually selecting the lines around it, the shape of the window. And then we're going to switch to the Follow Me tool. With the Follow Me tool, we then click on our shape right here. And look at that. It extrudes it along that shape. Now it's purple right now because it extruded it and it flipped the faces. We'll just select everything by triple clicking, right click on it and choose Reverse Faces. That way it's white again. Beautiful. And then, as I said, this shape on the inside is just a guide shape. So we're going to select it and delete it. And look at this. Look at this. We've got a 2-inch piece of molding on the outside, more molding on the inside, and on the inside, a 1-inch piece. Very simple. And once you've gotten that shape, it's very quick to do. So what I'm actually going to recommend you do is I'm going to undo this real quick. There we go. So I've just undone everything that I just did. Back to this shape here. I'm going to select this shape and copy it. And then I'll just paste that shape out in the middle here. I'll just stick it on the ground right here. There we go. That way we can go back to that shape and just move it over to other windows as we need it. Now there's only one thing that this window is missing. What's that? Piece of glass. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch to the Rectangle tool again. And I'm going to choose this line down here at the bottom left, and you can see if I hover over it, eventually it snaps to this little blue dot and it says midpoint. That means we're right in the middle of the window. That's a good place to draw our glass. So we'll click there, and then we'll go up to the top right corner, and we'll do the same thing, find that midpoint, and then when we click, we now have a solid rectangle on the inside. Now, this is only 2-dimensional, but that's fine because glass is very thin. We don't really need to do depth on this. That's detail we just don't need. But this is solid. Now, normally, I wait until the very end of a model when I've gotten all of the details and all the elements created. Then I go in with the bucket tool and I start texturing. But in this case, I want to be able to see through the windows immediately. So I'm going to hit the B key, go to the bucket tool. That brings up my colors palette. I'm going to just choose a white color. So just pick a white. And then down here we've got this slider that says opacity. I'm going to pull this down to 10 or 15%. Let's go 15. And then I just, with the bucket tool, I click on the piece of glass that I've modeled here, and it goes transparent. There we go. Now you'll notice that you can kind of see, if you look through it, just that little bit of opacity. We don't want it completely transparent because then you can't tell that anything's there at all. But this does give it a little bit of a you can tell something's there. It's like you're looking through a piece of glass. It's exactly what we want. So this is a great window. I'm going to go ahead and triple click it and group it. There we go. Now, the other windows here are the exact same size. So rather than redo the whole process again, I can just go into X-ray mode by going into View, Face Style, X-ray. There we go. And now I can kind of see inside. And right in here, I'll select my window. You can see this point right here is where the window hits the corner of the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to the Move tool, hit the Option key, so I'm dragging out a copy of it, and grab this, and then just line it up with the next window right here. Same point. There we go. So that's one, and then there's one more over here that's the same distance, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply it across. Just immediately hit X2. There we go. Get out of X-ray mode, and there you can see they lined up perfectly. Very quickly, we've got 3 windows already. So as I said, the rest of the windows use the same technique we were using before, where you use the Follow Me tool on that shape. You can go through. There are a lot of different shaped windows and different sized windows in this house, but it's the same exact procedure for every single one. The only thing we have left now are the doors. Now the doors are a little bit different, so let me show you how I like to do the doors. The good news is that doors are the same shape everywhere because it's a standard door size. Let's go ahead and create a fake doorway, shall we? I'll do it over here. We've got a nice empty area right here. I'll go ahead and draw a quick rectangle here, which I will make I will make it 2'8" by 6'8", right there. Perfect. I'll go ahead and select it, and I'll use the rotate tool on it to stand it up like that. There we go. And then I'll just take it and move it up so it's floating above a little bit. Use the offset tool on it, stretch it out 6 inches, and delete the interior part of it. And then I'll just take the push-pull tool and stretch it out 4.5 inches, which is the width of our walls, the depth of our walls, rather. There we go. Now, what I've created here is a fake doorway. If you imagine that this is just a really tiny wall, this hole is the exact shape and size of our doorways, which means if we go ahead and group this thing together, make group, there we are. This, we can now model a door inside of it, then delete the doorway and be left with just the door, right? So this is going to be really, really useful. So what we're going to do first is we are going to trace a rectangle on the outside. We're going to do the molding around the door first. I'm going to select, I could just offset this thing out, but remember that this line right here, this line right here is the floor, okay? So if I extrude this thing out, what I'm going to be left with is molding that goes into the floor, okay? We don't want that. So what I'm going to do instead is rather than select the whole shape, I'm just going to select these 3 lines. I'm going to not select the line on the floor. Use the offset tool on that. We'll do 1.5 inches for the width. There we go. And now, all I need to do is just draw a quick line here to touch these up. There we go. Delete the interior part, and then use the push-pull tool on it, pull it out 1/2 inch. And there we go. There is my molding for the exterior part of my door. Now, just like with the windows before, I want to have a 1/4 inch piece of molding on the inside. So I'll use the push-pull tool, pull this down a 1/4 inch. Same thing with the left and the right. Now I'll go around on the inside. Use the rectangle tool to separate it out. There we go. And I'm left with that face on the inside, so I'll go ahead and delete that. Now I can use the push-pull tool on this thing, pull it back so it completely covers the door, snap it to the wall right there. Perfect. Then I'll pull it out another 1/2 inch and do the molding on the inside. So I'll take this, separate it out, just like so, and pull it out 1.5 inches on either side. Just like that. There we go. Delete the face on the inside. Now, I've got this piece of molding on the inside, and I've got this weird little face right here on the inside of the door. I'll just delete that and the lines that created it. And now, I have this piece of molding that will fit inside of every single doorway in my house. Right? This is fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and group this. Now, that's a lovely doorway. There's no door inside of it, though. So we're going to go ahead and fix that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a guideline that will go right to the middle of my doorway here. I'll draw another guideline from that that will go all the way up to the top right there. And I will then use the rectangle tool and grab a thing right here and draw it down to that right there. There we go. I will then take this. I want my doors to be about 1.5 inches thick, let's say. So I'll just take this two-dimensional face and pull it back 3/4 of an inch, and then do the same thing from the other side so that it'll be right in the center of that molding, but 1.5 inches thick. So there we go. I'll go ahead and choose Edit, Delete Guides, get those out of here. Triple click to select my door and make it a group. There we go. Now, what I can do here is, the reason I'm not adding any details to the door right now, if you were doing a normal house where all of the doors were of a similar design, they were like patterns and the knobs were on the same side and everything, most houses are like that, you could go ahead and add those details in right now. So when you copy and pasted this door to all the various doorways in the house, the doors would be ready, they'd be done. In the case of this house, a lot of the doors have different designs. Front door, back door, interior doors, they're all a little bit different. It's part of the charm of the house. So I'm going to leave it blank, and then I can add in the details later. And remember, look at the Kaweah Falls photo gallery that I linked to on the show notes page, and you can see all the different doors and the different designs. So we'll do those individually, and we'll do that later. So for now, I'm just going to have a solid shape right here that will represent the door. If you wanted to, you could even use the rotate tool and grab it and like open it slightly to make it clear that it is in fact a door. You can do that. That's pretty cool to do. I'm going to leave mine closed for now to make things a little bit easier later. And now all I'm going to do is select the door and the door frame and group those together. There we go. Now, I have this fake doorway that I created. I can go ahead and select that and delete it. And this is what I'm left with. This is a door that will fit in every doorway inside my house. It's perfect. Just as it is perfect. So this is fantastic. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the door here, and then I'm going to copy it and then paste it in all the various doorways. Let's go ahead and find a doorway, actually. Let's start with, let's start with this door right here. So we'll go with this one inside the house here. I'm going to go ahead and select my door, copy it, Command-C or Control-C if you're on a PC, and paste it inside the house. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and snap it to the floor and just leave it there for now. I need to rotate it so that it will be right side. Now remember, the molding sticks out about 1.5 inches around the actual door frame. So we don't want to grab it with the move tool from the molding because we don't have a point on our doorway. Instead, we're going to select it from the inside right here, this point right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and go into X-ray again. It's a really good idea to bind a keystroke, some kind of keystroke to the X-ray mode, because when you're doing stuff like this, you'll want to turn it on and off really quickly while you're moving things. If it's just in the menu, you can't do that. In my case, I used Shift-X because that was free, and we have an episode, a very early episode, on the preferences of SketchUp, so you can rebind your keys. So if you want to do that, that will help you out quite a bit in this case. I'm going to go ahead and, so you see right here, this is the point that I want to line up with right there. Click, disable the X-ray, and look at that. It fits like a glove. If I go around to the other side, go through the wall, it fits perfectly. I can just copy and paste that to all the other doorways in my house, with the exception of just a couple. First of all, let's look at this door right here. You might be wondering, why didn't you use this doorway to show off your door frame design? Well, because it wouldn't have worked. This is the front door. It is an exterior door, which means that the wall is thicker. Interior walls are 4.5 inches. That's the way we modeled it. Exterior walls, 6 inches. So if I were to take this door and paste it in here, the door would be too thin. The molding isn't far apart enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag out a copy of my door. And then I'm going to go into the group of the frame of the door. And what I need to do is I need to extend it by 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the push-pull tool, and I'm going to take this exterior part of the molding and pull it out 3/4 of an inch, and do the same thing on the other side. Combined, I'm pulling them out 1.5 inches. And then take the interior molding and just push it back 3/4 of an inch on either side. And the reason I'm doing it the same way on either side, this one has an extra line, so I'll just do that. There we go. The reason I'm doing it on each side is because then the solid part of my door, the actual door part, the part that opens, stays right in the center. It doesn't get offset 1.5 inches. So there we go. That is my front door. That's fantastic. Now, the other example of a door that is different from the rest, this is the only double door in the house. But it's there, and we need to model a double door for it. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to take my interior door model, and I'm going to drag out a copy of it to work with. I'm going to go ahead and rotate it, so it's a bit easier to work with. It's on the same axis as the doorway. So now what I want to do is I want to do the same thing that I did where I made the previous door, the exterior door, thicker. I want to make this one wider by a fair bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, take a quick measurement as to how wide this door part is. 2 feet, 7.5 inches. Okay, so that's how much I need to expand my interior door frame by so that I can accommodate 2 of those doors instead of just 1. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my frame model here. 2 feet, 7.5. I'll grab my molding here. 2 feet, 7.5. There we go. And do the same thing here and here. There we go. That's extended out my molding. Now I'm going to take my molding on the inside and just push it back 2 feet, 7.5. And that, right there, takes care of my frame. I can then get out of the group, take my door, and just drag out a copy of it, like that. And there is my double door. It lines up beautifully. Still got the molding, and it should fit that opening perfectly. Okay, so at this point, I can't show you how to do every single door and window in the place. That would take forever. Instead, I've given you the tools and the techniques. I'm going to leave it up to you to finish everything. But I'm not going to leave you without a guide. I am going to show you what it looks like when you've finished. This is my model as of being completed with the doors and the windows installed. You can see, so this is what you will wind up with. And I'm going to make this lesson file available for download on our website, which is www.harwoodpodcast.com. So you can download it and see what you should end up with. So you can kind of reverse engineer everything that I did, but I've shown you all the techniques. There's nothing fancy that I did. All the other windows are just taking that shape, putting it inside the opening for the window, and then using the Follow Me tool to extrude it around. So go to our website and check that out. You can check out all the other episodes in the Kaweah Fall series as well. That's harwoodpodcast.com. And as always, you can email me at cameron@harwoodpodcast.com if you have any questions or comments for me about the show. And until next time, guys, I'll just say goodbye and good modeling.